Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool. And the Boxing Day fixtures, the famous Boxing Day fixtures, left us with a very tough game. I think the fixtures came out at the beginning of the season, we saw Leicester away on Boxing Day. We always knew that would be a tough game, but obviously as Leicester have done so well in the first part of the season, this game took on even more importance. It's very rare that you see first and second in the league playing each other on Boxing Day, but it was a huge clash for us. Obviously, with the game at Anfield being so close, with us, James Milner scoring the penalty in the last minute. Obviously, going into this game, me as well as most Liverpool fans I know, were slightly nervy of this game. We knew that Leicester could cause us some problems. Jamie Vardy's obviously been on top form, and with us coming back from Qatar, from the World Club Championship, there was always the risk also that we might look a bit leggy, and some of that fatigue may hit us. But I'm glad to report, and I'm glad to say, none of that negative stuff was apparent in this game. This game, again, like so many other games this season, has showed why we are in the position that we are in, and why we are so hard to beat, and why it looks more and more likely that we will go on and break that duck and win our first Premier League championship. But I think, as I was saying, I think it was always a game that was going to be a tough one. Not only because Leicester are a very good team, they've got some great players, but I think one of the things that they've done so impressively well this season is their number of clean sheets. So Johnny Evans and Soyuncu, their two centre-backs, have been really, really good this season. Obviously Soyuncu getting some interest from, I think, the likes of Man City, I think. So he's obviously looking to try and do big things. But yeah, I think all of that kind of defensive nervousness from Liverpool fans was all dispelled very quickly in the game, and arguably within the first 10 minutes we should have been out of sight. We had probably more chances in that first 10-15 minutes than we had in all the game at Anfield, but we were just unable to take it. I think for me the Mane one was the best chance. There was a cross in from Salah from kind of the edge of the box on the right hand side, just cutting in on his left foot, and Mane kind of ran towards the ball but decided to almost try and flick the ball in with his left shin, rather than even go with his right foot, which was kind of very strange and very awkward, but that's kind of Sadio Mane's style. But he kind of just got it a bit wrong, and the ball ended up going wide. But that was kind of one of the big chances in the first 10-15 minutes, and had we put those away, the game could have been over, and we could have possibly tried to see the game through. Obviously that would have been very difficult, but we had the chance very early in the game to go ahead and dominate right from the outset. But we did break the deadlock in the first half, and it was down to yet another assist from Trent Alexander-Arnold, this time picking the ball up kind of on the left hand side, coming inside onto his right foot and whipping a beautiful ball into Firmino at the back post. And what Firmino did really, really well, obviously to ensure he scored the goal, was head the ball down into the ground. I think many strikers who maybe aren't in form or don't have the confidence that Firmino has would maybe just head the ball, and therefore I think Kasper Schmeichel probably would have a better chance of saving it. But because of the way Firmino headed it into the ground, it made it very, very difficult for Schmeichel to get to the ball, which kind of almost just guaranteed a goal. So that was great play from both Trent, obviously, to get the ball into the box, but also then from Firmino to make sure that Kasper Schmeichel had no chance. And I think the second half is I guess where we really turned the screw. They were obviously behind, and because of the gap we had, they had to go for it. They had no choice. I think Brendan Rodgers probably set them out a little too negatively. I think even in that first half, although we only scored the one goal, we were by far the dominant team, and there wasn't many. I can't for the life of me remember any real chances they had in the first half, and I think I think they just maybe sat off us a little bit too much, and I think they probably could have just gone for a little more high energy against us, particularly with us coming off the Club World Cup. But yeah, definitely in the second half we turned up the volume on our game, and obviously and there's one player in particular for that. You all know who I'm going to be talking about, and that is Trent Alexander-Arnold, and absolutely bossing the game for that right hand flank. And it's weird because he almost plays like a right wing back, with Henderson kind of dropping in, and then Gomez kind of covers that space in behind him should they try and break. Now obviously with Gomez, he has so much pace that he can kind of recover and cover that as well, which we can probably he can do probably a lot better than say a Lovren or Matip. So I think it actually probably works better for Trent that Gomez is playing that right centre-back role than any of the others. But yeah, Trent just absolutely bossed the game in the second half. And obviously he's up against Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell has been a great player for Leicester this season. But when you look at the difference between a good left-back in Ben Chilwell and then you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it's like night and day. You're seeing a good player and you're honestly seeing a great player. And you just see the different levels that their games are at. And it's obviously great for England. Trent Alexander-Arnold on one side, Ben Chilwell on the other side. But obviously you got to balance that with some of the defensive protection as well at an England level. But at a club level at least, Trent Alexander-Arnold has that freedom to get forward. Both wide right and also come in on the inside right when required, when Salah goes out wide. And that partnership that he also has with Salah is really, really good, or whoever comes out on the right-hand side, because I think I've seen more and more recently Salah make that move into the centre and Firmino come out to the right as well. So Trent's really having that great connection with whoever it is on that right-hand side, which is obviously great for us. The second goal actually did come again from kind of indirectly from Trent Alexander-Arnold from a corner this time, getting the ball into the box. One of these ones where it was kind of just a little bit flatter, possibly maybe a bit of a miss kick maybe, or maybe that was intended, I'm not 100% sure, but the ball kind of just struck Soyuncu on the left arm. I think his body was just in a slightly awkward position and he made it difficult for himself, but it was a stonewall penalty. There was obviously a bit of protest from the Leicester players, but I don't think they really believed that it wasn't a penalty. And James Milner, who had just come on and scored the winning penalty when we beat Leicester 2-1 at Anfield, calmly slotted the ball past Kasper Schmeichel with very little effort. It was a great little finish. And any of you guys watching the match, it was a very interesting angle that Amazon Prime, who were showing the game here in the UK, decided to have. It was very, very cool view where you can kind of almost see from James Milner's perspective. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I think after that second goal is when Leicester heads started to drop, I think, and they weren't passing the ball as crisply. And I think from then the question became about how many for us rather than would Leicester get back into the game. And I think this is what ultimately will lead Leicester to finish kind of third or fourth in the league, not second. I think when they play up against the bigger teams, when they go 1 or 2 behind, I don't think they have it in them to overturn those kind of results or those scores. And then again, obviously they struggled against Norwich, and I think some of the lesser teams as well, they struggle with some times as well. So that's why I think ultimately City will, I think, finish second. But I still think Leicester will finish in the top 4. And after that second goal, the third and fourth came relatively quickly after that. The third goal was another great cross from Trent. There's only so many great things we can say about Trent in this episode, but it was kind of, if you played it behind the defenders, so obviously everyone was running into the box, so the defenders were running full pelt into the box, they couldn't stop, but the ball was played just behind them. Firmino able to trap the ball, and then it was just very easy for him to just lift it into the net. Obviously, with his 2 goals in the Club World Cup and then his brace in this game, he's moved to 4 goals in 3. He hadn't necessarily been scoring as much previously, so it was great to see him back in the goals. And Bobby Firmino looking like Bobby Firmino. And when he's scoring as well as kind of being that link, he's just an even better asset to our team. And the fourth goal, what can you say? The ball kind of was played into Mane, and the play just opened up, and there was a load of space on the right-hand side. Mane played a beautiful ball, nicely weighted into Trent Alexander-Arnold, and just first time absolutely smashed it. A bit of fizz with the outside of his foot, so the ball kind of curled in towards the goal rather than away. And then celebrated with the Mbappe celebration, which got all of the Mbappe 2020 crew all excited. I think it's just maybe an instinct in the moment or whatever. Maybe he was playing FIFA or something like that, and he did the Mbappe celebration. But obviously, I think when we're talking about Mbappe just then, when we're talking about the best young players in the world, Trent Alexander-Arnold has to be up there. I don't want to see any of this FIFA Club World Cup stuff at the end of next year where he's not there and just like Carvajal or someone like that is there, because he is the best right back in the world. No conversation about that. And when you're talking about the best young players in the world, when you talk about your Mbappes, when you're talking about your De Ligts, when you're talking about your Kai Havertz, Trent Alexander-Arnold is in that conversation, and he fully deserves to be in that conversation. So fair play to him. But yeah, the tough fixture list continues. We've got Wolves at home on the 29th of December. Obviously, I'm recording this after their win against Manchester City, which, even though they were playing against 10 men, was a really, really tough game for them. City actually defended very, very well, so fair play to them. They haven't done that too often this season. Maybe they defend better with 10 men than they do with 11. But yeah, I think it took a lot from them. They have come back. They have, this season quite a few times come back from being behind to win games. So obviously they will pose a threat even if we do go ahead. And obviously they've got some big players in their team. They've got Raul Jimenez, who I think is a really, really good striker. Obviously Adama Traore, who's just a tank. He's got pace and muscle. Like that combination is crazy. Like he's built so big, and yet at the same time he is so quick. So he'll obviously be a threat up against Andy Robertson on the right. But they obviously play a 5 at the back as well, or 3 at the back with 2 wing backs. So they'll be pushing up against Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. But what that does mean, I think, is that there will be space in behind those. So for the likes of Salah and Mane, I think that'll be great. And then obviously as the 3 centre-backs then get wider, that leaves then more space in the midfield for Firmino and runners from midfield to fill those gaps when we're going forward. So I'm really positive about the game. Obviously, at this moment in time, we just don't look like losing any games. But Wolves are a great team. And as Klopp and the players have said, we're looking one game at a time, looking to just put in our best performance in every single game. I think there will be some rotation. I would expect the likes of Origi and Shaqiri to come into the team, maybe even James Milner. But going into the game fully confident that we'll pick up the 3 points. And just to end the episode quickly, we have the shout out to Klopp, as we do in every episode. And this game, or this week, it's definitely for the centre-backs. We've kept, I think, 5 clean sheets in a row now. Which was unheard of earlier in the season. That was kind of one of the things that many people were saying that maybe would be the reason why we wouldn't win the league. And we're kind of starting to look a bit like what we used to look like last season, where we just weren't conceding. And I think that's down to Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk, who've created a great partnership over the last couple of weeks. They've looked really, really good together. And as I mentioned before, Joe Gomez covering that space behind Trent really, really well. And obviously Van Dijk just being Van Dijk and just like, it's crazy when you see him as a defender. He is just so good, so accurate, so fast, and is just an amazing defender. But thank you guys for listening to this episode. Obviously we've got Wolves up next. Make sure you tune in for that episode, and I'll catch you on the next one.